In every community, there exists a figure of authority, a person who embodies trust and safety, someone you believe will always do what's right. Imagine living in a place where the sheriff is not just a lawman but a neighbor, a friend, and a protector. In such a town, life flows smoothly, with children playing in the streets and neighbors exchanging friendly waves. Yet beneath this facade of normalcy, an unsettling reality begins to unfold, one that will leave the community reeling and questioning everything they thought they knew. What occurs when that trust is misplaced? What happens when the very person sworn to protect becomes the source of fear? This is the story of Monique Ellis and Sheriff Clayton Marshall, a tale that reveals how quickly innocence can be shattered and how betrayal can come from the most unexpected places. Monique Ellis was a bright 17-year-old girl with dreams of joining law enforcement. She was well-liked and had a promising future ahead of her. Sheriff Clayton Marshall, on the other hand, was a respected figure in the community, a devoted husband and father, known for his commitment to his duties. Their lives were intertwined through family connections. Monique was not just any girl, she was practically family, having spent countless hours in the Marshall household alongside Clayton's daughter, Eller. As we explore this tragic narrative, we must consider how their relationship evolved from innocent friendship to something far more complicated. It began subtly, conversations that started casually became longer and more intimate. Moments that were once innocent began to shift into private encounters filled with underlying tension. The lines between trust and manipulation blurred, leading both individuals down a path they could never have anticipated. The day Monique visited the sheriff's office should have been like any other. She intended to meet her father, Officer Jerome Ellis, for a quick ride home. Instead, it became a pivotal moment in her life, one that would change everything. As she walked through the familiar halls of the sheriff's department, she felt safe and at ease. Little did she know that this visit would set off a chain of events that would lead to unimaginable horror. Clayton spotted Monique from his office window as she entered the station. This time, something felt different. The young girl he had watched grow up had transformed into a confident young woman. He felt an unsettling shift within himself, a recognition that stirred feelings he had long buried under layers of professionalism and duty. It was an awakening he didn't want to acknowledge but couldn't ignore. When Monique entered his office, she trusted him completely. To her, he was simply Eller's father, a man who had always been there for her family. As they talked about her aspirations in law enforcement, Clayton seized the opportunity to extend their interaction under the guise of mentorship. He offered her guidance and connections in law enforcement, an enticing prospect for a young girl eager to make her mark on the world. What began as innocent advice soon morphed into something much more complicated. Clayton's intentions were not as pure as they seemed. He was drawn to Monique in ways that went beyond professional interest. The allure of power mixed with temptation clouded his judgment as he navigated this precarious situation. As their meetings continued behind closed doors, Monique found herself caught in a web of manipulation she could not see. She believed she was receiving valuable mentorship from someone she trusted implicitly, a chance to learn from an experienced officer who could help her achieve her dreams. Yet Clayton's motivations were far from honorable. He exploited her trust while pursuing his own desires. The community remained unaware of the turmoil brewing beneath its calm exterior until tragedy struck. When Monique's pregnancy became evident, everything changed. Faced with an impossible situation and feeling trapped by Clayton's influence, she struggled to find a way out, a way to escape from the man who had once been her mentor but had now become her captor. As whispers began to circulate about Clayton's behavior, the facade he had maintained started to crack. Friends and family noticed changes in both him and Monique but struggled to connect the dots. How could someone so trusted betray that trust? The reality of their relationship remained hidden behind closed doors until it could no longer be contained. The tragic culmination of their relationship would soon unfold in ways that no one could have anticipated, a heartbreaking end marked by violence that would leave the town reeling in disbelief. How does a community reconcile with the fact that their protector has committed such an unspeakable act? The echoes of betrayal linger long after the truth comes to light. This chilling story serves as a reminder of how easily trust can be exploited by those we hold dear and how quickly lives can be altered by one person's choices. As we uncover the details surrounding Monique Ellis's tragic fate, we are left with lingering questions about accountability, justice, and the lasting impact of betrayal on those left behind. Stay tuned as we explore this harrowing tale further, unpacking not just what happened but also reflecting on its profound impact on everyone involved and how such darkness can emerge from what once seemed like ordinary lives intertwined by friendship and trust. Welcome to True Crime Stories Archive, your gateway to the chilling world of real-life horror. If you're new here, we encourage you to engage with our content, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more spine-tingling stories. To our returning subscribers, thank you for your continued support as we delve into these haunting narratives together. Join us as we uncover the truth behind the stories that haunt our reality. Sheriff Clayton Marshall was a man of many roles, a protector, a husband, a father. In the small town where he served, he was regarded as the embodiment of trust and authority. His reputation was built on years of dedicated service, and he was admired by colleagues and community members alike. Clayton had a family that he cherished deeply. His wife, Sharon, and their 2 daughters, Ella and a younger sibling, filled his life with joy and purpose. To his daughters, he was not just their father, he was their hero. Among those who shared a close bond with the Marshall family was Monique Ellis, a bright and ambitious 17-year-old girl. Monique had grown up alongside Ella, and their friendship was one that had been nurtured since childhood. They were inseparable, sharing countless memories from backyard playdates to late-night study sessions. Monique was practically family, often seen at the Marshall household during family gatherings and celebrations. Monique's father, Officer Jerome Ellis, served under Sheriff Marshall. Their friendship extended beyond professional boundaries. They celebrated holidays together and supported each other through life's ups and downs. The bond between the Ellis and Marshall families was strong, built on years of shared experiences and trust. As Monique approached adulthood, her aspirations began to take shape. She dreamed of joining law enforcement, inspired by her father's work and the respect she saw in her community for figures like Clayton. She envisioned herself making a difference in the world, perhaps even working for agencies like the FBI or Secret Service. Her ambition was palpable. She wanted to be someone important. The dynamics of their relationships began to shift as Monique spent more time around the sheriff's office. What started as innocent visits to see her father became more frequent interactions with Clayton. He began to notice her in ways he hadn't before. She was no longer just Ella's best friend but a young woman with aspirations that mirrored his own past. As their paths intertwined more closely, Clayton found himself grappling with feelings he had long suppressed. He watched Monique grow into a confident young woman who carried herself with grace and determination. Each encounter brought with it an internal struggle for Clayton, a conflict between his role as a mentor and the inappropriate attraction he felt toward Monique. Their relationship took on new dimensions during those private meetings at the sheriff's office. Conversations that once revolved around school and future plans began to shift into deeper territory. Clayton offered mentorship under the guise of guidance, presenting himself as someone who could help her navigate her career ambitions. Monique welcomed this attention. It felt like validation from someone she respected deeply. Clayton encouraged Monique to explore her dreams further, suggesting they meet regularly to discuss her future in law enforcement. He framed these meetings as opportunities for her to gain insight into the field, an enticing prospect for a young girl eager to make her mark in a competitive world. As they spent more time together, the boundaries that should have existed began to blur. What started as professional advice soon morphed into something much more complicated. Clayton's internal conflict grew. He knew that what he felt was wrong yet found himself unable to resist the pull of temptation. Monique trusted him completely, seeing him as a father figure who had always been there for her. She never questioned his motives or intentions. Why would she? To her, this was simply an older man offering guidance, someone who believed in her potential. The sheriff's office became a place where their interactions shifted from innocent conversations to moments charged with unspoken tension. Clayton reveled in the power dynamics at play. He could shape Monique's future while simultaneously indulging in feelings that should have remained buried. With each passing meeting, Clayton's resolve weakened further. He found himself drawn deeper into this complex web of emotions, an attraction that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. The trust Monique placed in him became a tool for manipulation, one that he wielded without fully understanding the consequences of his actions. As they continued to meet under the pretense of mentorship, Clayton's thoughts became increasingly clouded by desire. He justified his actions by telling himself that he was helping Monique achieve her dreams while ignoring the moral implications of crossing boundaries that should never have been crossed. Monique remained blissfully unaware of the turmoil within Clayton's mind. She saw only a mentor guiding her towards success. The excitement of having someone so influential in her corner fueled her ambitions even further. She believed she was on the path to greatness, little did she know how easily that path could lead to devastation. The atmosphere surrounding their meetings shifted subtly but significantly over time. What once felt like innocent exchanges transformed into encounters filled with tension and unacknowledged feelings, a dangerous game played without awareness of its potential consequences. As they navigated this precarious relationship, both were unaware that they were standing on the precipice of something that would change their lives forever, a moment where trust would be shattered and innocence lost in ways neither could have anticipated. The community remained oblivious to these developments. Life continued as usual in their small town while behind closed doors, an unsettling reality unfolded, one that would soon erupt into tragedy and leave lasting scars on everyone involved. With each meeting at the sheriff's office, the stakes grew higher as boundaries blurred further between mentor and mentee. The tension simmered beneath the surface until it reached a boiling point, a moment when everything would come crashing down around them. What would happen when secrets began to unravel? What would become of trust when it is betrayed by those we hold closest? As we continue this story, we will uncover how quickly lives can change when innocence meets ambition, and how one man's choices can lead to devastating consequences for an entire community. Authority? She accepted the offer with enthusiasm, her heart racing at the thought of being mentored by someone so influential. Little did she know that this decision would lead her down a path of unimaginable horror. As the conversation continued, Clayton's demeanor shifted subtly. He leaned in closer, his voice lowering as he spoke about the realities of law enforcement, the challenges, the sacrifices, and the importance of having strong allies. Monique listened intently, captivated by his words. The office felt warm and inviting, filled with the scent of old wood and leather, a stark contrast to the turmoil that was about to unfold. Clayton's mind raced as he watched Monique's reactions. He felt a thrill at the power he wielded in this moment, a sense of control that was intoxicating. He reminded himself that he was merely offering guidance, but deep down, he was aware of the dangerous game he was playing. The lines between mentor and predator blurred with each passing second. Monique spoke passionately about her goals, her eyes shining with determination. She wanted to make a difference in the world, to serve her community just as Clayton had done for years. He nodded along, feigning encouragement while battling his own internal conflict. This was no longer just a conversation about career aspirations, it had transformed into something more complex and unsettling. As they talked, Clayton found himself caught in a web of conflicting emotions. He admired Monique's ambition and drive but felt an undeniable attraction that he had never anticipated. Each laugh she shared seemed to echo in his mind, each smile igniting a spark within him that he fought desperately to extinguish. The atmosphere in the room shifted as Clayton leaned back in his chair, trying to regain composure. He attempted to steer the conversation back to safer territory, school projects, future plans, but the tension lingered like a thick fog. Monique remained unaware of the storm brewing beneath Clayton's calm exterior. She saw only a mentor who believed in her potential. In that moment, time seemed to stand still as Clayton struggled with his thoughts. He knew he should end this meeting before it crossed into dangerous territory, yet he found himself unable to do so. The allure of what lay before him was too tempting, the desire to explore this connection further overshadowed any sense of caution. As Monique continued to share her dreams and aspirations, Clayton felt himself drawn deeper into this precarious situation. The conversation flowed effortlessly until it reached a point where their eyes locked, an electric moment filled with unspoken tension that hung heavily in the air. Monique sensed something shift but attributed it to her own excitement about the future they were discussing. She had always felt safe around Clayton, he was family after all. But today felt different, there was an intensity in his gaze that made her heart race for reasons she couldn't quite understand. Clayton broke eye contact first, shifting his focus back to his desk as if searching for something to ground him. He picked up a framed photograph, a picture of his family, and for a brief moment, he allowed himself to remember who he was supposed to be, a devoted husband and father, a protector of his community. Yet as he placed the photo back down, reality hit him hard. The man staring back at him from that picture was not the same man sitting across from Monique. This man was someone who had lost sight of his values and responsibilities. Monique's voice pulled him back from his thoughts as she expressed her gratitude for his offer once more. "Thank you for believing in me," she said earnestly, her eyes sparkling with hope and ambition. Clayton forced a smile, masking the turmoil within him. "Of course," he replied softly, "I want you to succeed." But even as he spoke those words, he felt an internal struggle brewing, a battle between right and wrong that would soon reach its breaking point. As their meeting continued, Clayton's mind raced with possibilities. How could he extend their time together? How could he ensure that these moments didn't end here? Each idea that crossed his mind felt increasingly reckless yet exhilarating at the same time. The clock on the wall ticked away seconds as they exchanged stories and laughter. What should have been an innocent mentorship began morphing into something far more dangerous, a connection fraught with unacknowledged feelings and desires that threatened to unravel everything they both held dear. With each passing minute, Clayton's resolve weakened further. He could feel the weight of temptation pressing down on him like an anchor pulling him deeper into unknown waters. The stakes were rising, every word spoken drew them closer to an edge neither could see until it was too late. Monique remained blissfully unaware of the storm gathering around them. She saw only opportunity and guidance from someone she trusted completely. As she spoke about her future plans with enthusiasm, Clayton found himself lost in thoughts that should never have entered his mind, thoughts that danced dangerously close to crossing lines he had vowed never to approach. The encounter continued under the guise of mentorship while beneath it lay an undercurrent of tension waiting for its moment to break free, a moment that would change everything for both Monique Ellis and Sheriff Clayton Marshall forever. In that office filled with memories and aspirations yet unfulfilled, two lives hung in balance, one teetering on the edge of ambition and innocence while the other wrestled with desires that threatened to consume everything in its path. As they sat together sharing dreams for tomorrow, neither could foresee how quickly those dreams would be shattered by choices made in moments of weakness and confusion. Time slipped away unnoticed as they continued their conversation, each second bringing them closer to an inevitable confrontation between trust and betrayal, a confrontation neither could escape from once it began its relentless march toward tragedy. Monique Ellis was reported missing on a day that began like any other. When she didn't return home after visiting the sheriff's office, concern quickly turned into panic. Her father, Officer Jerome Ellis, had been out on assignment, and when he returned to find his daughter absent, he immediately sensed that something was wrong. The tight-knit community where everyone knew each other began to feel the weight of uncertainty as Monique's absence became apparent. Friends and family gathered, sharing their worries and speculating about where she might be. Monique was a responsible young woman, she would never just disappear without telling anyone. As the hours turned into a night filled with unanswered questions, the community mobilized to search for her. Flyers were printed, and social media exploded with posts asking for information about her whereabouts. The local news picked up the story, broadcasting pleas from her family and friends, urging anyone with information to come forward. Law enforcement quickly sprang into action. The sheriff's department initiated a formal investigation, deploying officers to canvass the area and interview anyone who might have seen Monique that day. They retraced her last known movements, focusing on the sheriff's office where she had last been seen. The atmosphere shifted from worry to urgency as investigators began piecing together the timeline of her disappearance. Initial interviews with Monique's friends revealed that she had seemed excited about her future plans in law enforcement. They described her as ambitious and driven, someone who would never willingly abandon her goals or her loved ones. As investigators dug deeper, they learned about her relationship with Clayton Marshall, how he had offered mentorship and guidance in her aspirations. This connection raised eyebrows among those who knew both Clayton and Monique. It was a link that would soon come under scrutiny. As the investigation progressed, key evidence began to surface. Officers discovered that Monique's phone had been inactive since shortly after she left the sheriff's office. They retrieved surveillance footage from nearby businesses, hoping to catch a glimpse of her leaving the area. However, no clear leads emerged, and frustration mounted as days passed without any sign of Monique. Clayton Marshall was no longer just the sheriff, he was now a man caught in a web of his own making. As the investigation into Monique's disappearance unfolded, the community's initial hope for her safe return began to wane. Days turned into weeks, and with each passing moment, the reality of her absence weighed heavily on the hearts of those who knew her. When Monique was officially reported missing, the response from the community was swift and overwhelming. Friends, family, and neighbors rallied together to search every corner of their town, distributing flyers and sharing her story on social media. Candlelight vigils were held, and tears were shed as people prayed for her safe return. The atmosphere that once buzzed with laughter and trust now felt heavy with fear and uncertainty. Law enforcement quickly mobilized, launching a full-scale investigation into Monique's disappearance. Officers canvassed the area, interviewing anyone who might have seen her that day. They retraced her steps, focusing on the sheriff's office where she had last been seen. The investigation team worked tirelessly, poring over surveillance footage and collecting evidence that would hopefully lead them to Monique. As they pieced together the timeline of events leading up to her disappearance, investigators began to uncover troubling information about Clayton Marshall's involvement. Witnesses reported seeing Monique enter the sheriff's office that day but not leaving. The absence of any footage showing her departure raised red flags among investigators. The investigation intensified as law enforcement scrutinized Clayton's actions more closely. They conducted interviews with his colleagues and friends, trying to piece together his movements during the time Monique went missing. As they delved deeper into Clayton's life, they uncovered inconsistencies in his statements about where he had been that day. Evidence began to surface that pointed toward Clayton's involvement in Monique's disappearance. A local resident reported seeing a vehicle matching the description of Clayton's patrol car parked near a secluded area outside town on the day she vanished. This revelation sent shockwaves through the investigation team. They realized they were dealing with a case that was far more complex than they had initially anticipated. As investigators continued to gather evidence, they encountered misleading clues, red herrings that diverted attention away from Clayton. Some witnesses claimed to have seen Monique in different locations around town during the time she went missing, while others reported hearing strange noises near the sheriff's office. These conflicting accounts created confusion within the investigation and delayed progress in finding Monique. However, as more evidence came to light, it became increasingly difficult for Clayton to maintain his facade. The pressure mounted as investigators sought answers from him about his whereabouts on that fateful day. The man who had once been seen as a protector now stood at the center of an unfolding nightmare, a nightmare that would force everyone involved to confront uncomfortable truths about trust and betrayal. Then came a breakthrough moment. A forensic analysis revealed traces of blood found in Clayton's vehicle. This discovery solidified suspicions and pushed investigators closer than ever to understanding what had happened to Monique Ellis. With this new evidence in hand, law enforcement prepared to confront Clayton Marshall about his involvement in her disappearance. As they approached him with their findings, tension filled the air. The confrontation was inevitable. They needed answers from a man whose actions had led them down this dark path. Investigators were determined to uncover the truth behind Monique's fate and hold Clayton accountable for what he had done. In those critical moments leading up to their confrontation, investigators reflected on how quickly trust could be shattered when darkness takes hold within those we believe are our protectors. The community that once looked up to Clayton now faced an agonizing reality, one where their trust had been misplaced in someone capable of unimaginable acts. The investigation culminated in an arrest that sent shockwaves through the community. A man who had once been revered as a hero was now facing charges related to Monique's murder. The news spread like wildfire. Disbelief rippled through townsfolk who struggled to reconcile their memories of Clayton with the horrific reality of his actions. Monique's family was devastated by the loss of their beloved daughter, a vibrant young woman whose life was cut short by betrayal and manipulation. Friends mourned her absence deeply. She had been a bright light in their lives, full of dreams and ambitions that would never come to fruition. As news of Clayton's arrest traveled through town, conversations shifted from hope for Monique's safe return to anger and grief over what had transpired. The community grappled with feelings of betrayal as they processed how someone they trusted could commit such an atrocity against one of their own. In the aftermath of these events, Monique's murder left lasting scars on everyone involved. Her family, friends, and even those who had known Clayton for years were left questioning everything they thought they knew about him. The impact reverberated throughout their small town as residents struggled to come to terms with this tragic reality. The emotional fallout from this tragedy extended far beyond those directly affected. It rippled through families and friendships as people reassessed their perceptions of trust and safety within their community. What had once felt like a secure environment now seemed fraught with uncertainty, a place where even those sworn to protect could become threats. As time passed, Monique's memory lived on in the hearts of those who loved her. The laughter she shared with friends, the dreams she spoke of so passionately, all became reminders of what was lost too soon. Her family sought justice not only for themselves but also for others who might find themselves vulnerable in similar situations. The long-term effects of this tragedy reached deep into the fabric of their community. Conversations shifted toward awareness and prevention as residents sought ways to ensure that such horrors would never happen again. They rallied together to support one another through grief while advocating for change within local law enforcement practices. Monique Ellis's story became a cautionary tale, a reminder that trust should never be taken for granted and that vigilance is necessary even in seemingly safe spaces. As her legacy continued to inspire discussions about accountability and justice, it served as a beacon for those seeking hope amid darkness. The tragedy left behind an indelible mark on everyone involved, a haunting reminder that even in places where trust is built over years, it can be shattered in an instant by choices made under duress or temptation. As families navigated their grief and sought healing from this devastating loss, they honored Monique's memory by working toward a future where no one else would have to endure such pain again. As we wrap up this chilling story of betrayal and loss, we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on the case? How do you feel about the actions taken by those involved? Do you think there were signs that could have prevented this tragedy? Share your insights and opinions in the comments below. Your perspective matters, and we encourage open discussions about these important topics. If you found this story compelling and want to stay updated on more true crime narratives, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. We bring you daily true crime stories and updates on similar cases, exploring the complexities of human behavior and the darker sides of our communities. Thank you for joining us today, and to our returning subscribers, your support means the world. Together, let's continue to uncover the truths behind these haunting tales.